Welcome to the Lake TV Community Spotlight Show, brought to you by the great folks at COMC, Central Ozarks Medical Center, where your health is their mission. It is political season again. People running for president, people running for governor. We've got one of those guys running for governor here in the state of Missouri. It's Bill Eigel, and he's a state senator, has been in the state Senate for about 6 years or so, running for governor now. So thank you for joining us. Appreciate it very much in the middle of a very busy campaign season. So you're kind of, I think, an unknown compared to some of the guys you're running against. You're running against an Ashcroft and a Kehoe. They've got big name recognition, family recognition and stuff. You kind of, I guess, would be an underdog. Or do you consider yourself an underdog?
I certainly consider myself an underdog. And, I've never run any political race where I had the most money or I had the most name ID, and that's probably not going to change this time around. But what I have in this race and what I had in those other races is a message that's resonating a lot more with the people who are actually going to vote in these upcoming elections than my opponents. And so, let's go back to 2016. You remember the race in 2016, the Republican nomination?
Yeah.
There was a lot of name ID behind the then lieutenant governor of the state, which was Peter Kinder.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of money, but at that point, behind the former Speaker of the Missouri House, Catherine Hanaway, and John Bruner, who was also pretty well known. And yet what happened? There was an underdog by the name of Eric Reitens who came out of nowhere, had a message that resonated very well with the state of Missouri, of folks that were looking for that disruptor, folks that were looking for that reckoning of the swamp and the ways things were.
Yeah.
And he was very successful. So there are not a lot of things that I had necessarily have in common with what happened with Eric Reitens after he got into office, but I'm promising to bring that same retribution, that same reckoning to the swamp in Jefferson City that really, due to the growth of government in Jefferson City, has stagnated our state, and we're falling behind.
Yeah, and your message kind of lines up hand in hand with Donald Trump,
yeah.
Right? I mean, the things that you say, your campaign messages and stuff are pretty much exactly what Donald Trump is saying. Is that an accident or is that on purpose?
Well, I don't know. I think it's part of God's plan.
Uh-huh.
It's part of God's plan in the sense that I think that I share a lot of the same attributes of wanting to upend and kick over apple carts in centers of power in our country. For Donald Trump, you're talking about Washington, D.C., and gosh, there's no place in the country that has a bigger swamp or more apple carts that need to be kicked over.
Pretty bad.
But in Jefferson City, government's bigger than it's ever been before as well. We've more than doubled the size of our government in Jefferson City in the past 10 years. And because we've done that, because Republicans like Mike Parson or Mike Kehoe and Jay Ashcroft have done that, we haven't been able to get rid of personal property tax in this state. We haven't been able to get rid of the income tax in this state. So our state is stagnating. Folks are moving to other states. They're moving to Tennessee. They're moving to Texas. They're moving to Florida. They're not staying and moving to Missouri. We've got to change that. We have an opportunity to be a leader in these United States, but we've got to be willing to not just cut the tax burden, but protect our land from being bought out by foreign entities. We've got to fix our elections by getting rid of the machines that hardly anybody in the Republican Party actually trusts and going back to the hand counting of ballots. We've got to be willing to do all the big, bold Republican ideas that the swamp in Jefferson City, led by the establishment candidates like Mike Kehoe and Jay Ashcroft, they're just not willing to do.
Yeah.
That message, I think, is going to be very popular.
So I've heard you talk about the uniparty. That's become a new term in the last year or two of what is the uniparty? So when you say I'm fighting against the uniparty, what does that mean?
That the uniparty is what's growing government down there. I mean, what is the uniparty is when Democrats get together with soft Republicans to pass a agenda that's more about supporting government than it is about supporting the people. I'll give you a couple examples. Right now, we see folks paying a lot of money to buy gas, once again, in our country and in our state. Well, the Uni Party got together a couple years ago to make it even more difficult to buy gas in this state by Republicans joining with Democrats to pass the largest gas tax increase, the largest tax increase ever in the state of Missouri. Mike Kehoe was at the forefront of the fight, joining with Democrats to grow government and make the tax burden even bigger. That's the Uni Party. Mike Parson has been working with Mike Kehoe for the past 6 years, to make government bigger in this state. We have seen Mike Parson and Mike Kehoe grow the size of government in Missouri more in those 7 years that they've been in office as an administration than in all the years a Democrat has been in the governor's mansion and all the years that Missouri's been a state.
And they're Republicans and they're supposed to be anti-big government.
And yet they come in front of the cameras and claim to be conservative Republicans. And that's why people hate politicians.
Yeah.
They know instinctually that something is wrong in Jefferson City or Washington, D.C. That's why they're responding to Donald J. Trump. I support the president. I support that message. we need that kind of reckoning here in the state of Missouri.
Okay, so we're talking with Bill Eigel, running for governor. You're hearing some of his thoughts and ideas on different things. Definitely not soft coding things. He's coming right out saying what he truly believes. So we'll get more of that. We'll talk about the state of the country as well as the state of Missouri and much more when we continue here on the Community Spotlight Show. If you love the lake, you gotta love Lake TV. Central Ozarks Medical Center, voted Missouri's best and best at the lake, is recruiting team members due to growth. Amazing employment opportunities for both medical and non-medical positions with competitive salaries and outstanding perks. For more information, go to the Careers tab at centralozarks.org. COMC for the best medical, dental, and behavioral health care. Join a leader. Join our team. COMC, where your health is our mission. If it's happening at the lake, it's happening on Lake TV. From the polar plunge to festivals, parades, aquapalooza, and boat shows, Lake TV has it all. Even the granddaddy of them all, the shootouts. If you're looking for places to party, things to do, or even a new home to move into, you've gotta love Lake TV. Welcome back to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show, brought to you by the great folks at COMC. We're talking with Bill Eigel, state senator running for governor in the state of Missouri, and making a lot of waves because he doesn't say usual politics stuff. He's really pretty bold about what he believes. I heard a national politician recently say, this was Newt Gingrich, that we are in the biggest constitutional crisis in America than we've been since just before the Civil War.
Yeah.
That's a pretty scary statement. Do you think that's true?
I do. Look at what happened in the state of New Mexico recently. You had the governor down there boldly proclaiming that she was going to cancel the Second Amendment in that state by unilaterally issuing an executive order to suspend constitutional and concealed carry in that state. That's tyranny. That is tyranny. Look what happened during the COVID environment. We had government shutting down businesses. We had government putting masks on our kids for 8 hours a day. We had government forcing vaccinations on folks that didn't want to take them. And actually, vaccinations, medical experiment is the better term. So that's tyranny. And what's facilitating these types of tyranny is the size of government, which is greater than it's ever been before. And that's the dirty little secret for Republicans like Mike Kehoe and Mike Parson and Jay Ashcroft, is that they have been statewide leaders presiding over the greatest growth in government, the largest growth in government that we've ever seen in our state history, and that is facilitating the COVID environments that are taking our rights. That is empowering local tyrants in some of, whether it's St. Louis City or Kansas City or St. Louis County, to be aggressive in their trampling of rights when a governor of the state won't do anything. That's what I'm talking about fixing. I'm going to be the guy standing in the breach.
You use some strong words there, tyranny, anti-constitutional and stuff like that. And that is, it's being commonly talked about in our day and age. Are we on the brink of some sort of a civil unrest or a civil war or anything like that?
I think that we're reaching a tipping point where folks are tired of watching the decline of their country. And the decline of their country and our state is exemplified no greater than how government is doing fantastic while everyday Missourians are struggling. Look at government right now. Government has more than doubled the amount of revenue it's taking in and spending in the past 12 years. How many Missouri households do we know of have doubled the revenue that they're taking in, the income that they're taking in? Well, hardly any. And yet, because in Jefferson City, only the powerful are profiting from all the tax dollars now being sent down there. Mike Kehoe and Jay Ashcroft want to continue that. I'm the guy that's going to go down there and stop the grift that's going on down there by defunding all that government and restoring those dollars back to the taxpayer so that you don't have to pay rent to the government every December 1st for the crime of owning a car on personal property tax. We're going to get rid of that because Tennessee and Florida and Texas aren't doing that, And no wonder that's where people are going.
When you were growing up, did you ever think our country could be where it's at right now with, I mean, how we have fallen into socialism, and I mean, right is wrong, wrong is right. Yeah. People don't even know if they're men or women anymore. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is. When I was growing up, we had the Soviet Union still. I'm not trying to date myself there, but we had the Soviet Union. So we knew who the bad guys were. Yeah. We knew that communism, that socialism was a bad idea, that it was destroying the livelihoods of hundreds of millions of people over the world. And we were bold about defending ourselves against it. Well, when the Soviet Union went away, we kind of lost our focus on what was making America special, because we have a system that rewards people for individual talent and individual effort. And now government's coming in the door at all levels, federal, state, and local level, saying that, hey, we can live your lives for you. Government can make these decisions for you. Well, that's not the America that I grew up in. You know, I never thought. I'll give you one quick example of the COVID environment. This is in St. Louis County, which is right next to where I'm from. Mm-hmm. The county executive in St. Louis County, Sam Page, actually in the midst of the COVID environment was telling people how many guests they were allowed to have over for Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, I mean,
remember that is the kind of craziness that we saw in this state. And where was Mike Parson when that happened? Where was Mike Kehoe when that happened? Where was Jay Ashcroft as statewide leaders to protect the citizens of the state? They were missing in action. And I don't think that anybody that is willing to stand by and do nothing. I was in the Senate working to pass legislation that would prohibit vaccine mandates, that would prohibit mask mandates. And I was the powers that be in Jefferson City were working against me. So if those guys who have stood by and done nothing for the past 7 years, while we've drifted further into decline, we're not going to get anything by continuing to elect that status quo. I'm going to be the difference maker. I'm going to be the one that's going to defend our rights. Let's go, Missouri.
So there's so many people out there, just normal Joes, you know, that don't feel like they have any power to stop what's happening, you know, it's out of our hands, it's out of our control. Is that true, or do normal citizens have some power? What can they do?
They absolutely have some power. In fact, you know, people get involved in the political discussion because of what's wrong in politics. No one's calling me saying, hey, Senator Eigel, we just want to let you know you're doing a great job. No, nobody's getting involved because of they're getting involved because of what is wrong. And there's a lot wrong, which also means that more people are getting involved in this discussion than ever before. And you and I have talked before. When I first got into politics, I wasn't looking to get into politics. Politics found me because my Obamacare premiums were going through the roof. So I got involved for what is wrong. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing parents get involved in school board races. We're seeing individuals run for the state Senate who are going to try to change the status quo. And now in 2024, I'm the first one to offer a solution of having the governor of this state lead this state to a place that we've never been before, where we get rid of that swamp, we break that status quo, and we actually start doing all the things that people are tired of just hearing as campaign promises that go away the moment Election Day is over.
Absolutely. Okay, so it's Bill Eigel. He's a state senator. You might not have heard of him. He's running for governor now. Underdog, because there's much bigger names in the race than you. And you have a hope. I mean, you think that everything can be saved, where a lot of people out there are thinking it's hopeless now. So I guess it's good to have politicians that...
I tell you this, one thing, no matter what happens, and this is true not just in politics but everything, God's in control. God has a plan for everything, and I believe that God is going to raise up leaders in this state and around this country that are going to work to create and restore an America that looked like the America that you and I grew up in. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. It's not. It doesn't mean that we're not going to find ourselves as the underdogs like I am right now, and that's okay. America has a tradition and a heritage of underdogs overcoming the odds. We've been doing that since our country was born more than 200 years ago. We're going to do it again this year, or this coming year. And I couldn't be more excited to be a part of it.
Well, the American Revolution was a big
underdog
story,
we started.
Right? Okay. So if folks want to learn more about you, find out more about you and what you stand for, where do they go? Where do they get that?
Website, BillEigel.com. You know, we're all over social media right now, but my website, BillEigel.com, we've had 30,000 people sign up on that website so far. That's a quarter of the support we need just to win the primary in the first place. So BillEigel.com, EIGEL. Check it out. You can sign up to get our newsletters. You can sign up to stay involved about where our events are going to be. Get engaged. Be a part of this discussion. Let's go, Missouri.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Eigel. And thank you for joining us for Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show.